Happy hello and welcome back to Paper Creations by Mindy. Today I'm going to be creating a card using the Easily Amused stamp set from Sugar Pea Designs and my own background using distress inks and dies. I'm starting off by creating my scene. I have this fun die from Sugar Pea Designs that will cut a hill and trees, and I like to cut them from a distressed piece of cardstock. So I'm taking the peeled paint Distress Oxide and applying it to my Bristol Smooth cardstock. Oxides will blend well on almost anything, but I have found that they're even better on the Bristol Smooth cardstock. I cut this piece about 4.5 by 5.5, and then we'll trim it down after I die cut my landscape. I then come in with Forest Moss Distress ink and apply that over top of the peeled paint. I really like the two-tone look that it gives. Next, I take a small water bottle and just spritz some water down and dab it with a paper towel. I love doing this to my distressed backgrounds. It's like magic right before your eyes. Now I'm going to work on my sky. I'm using Spring Raid cardstock from Paper Tray Ink and Faded Jean Distress Oxide with my cloud stencil from My Favorite Things. This is such a cool effect with the tone-on-tone colors. So I just lay my stencil down and brush upwards with my blending tool. Then I'll pick up the stencil and move it around. If it starts to look a little too streaky, I come back over it with some small circles to blend that out. My blending tool is pretty seasoned, so it doesn't leave those circle marks, so I would just suggest to be careful if your sponge is brand new. I have this super cute stamp from Sugar Pea Designs that I picked up from 7 Kids Your Crafting Supply store. It has tons of images on here to create your own little scene and the adorable sentiments to match. I'm using my Misty tool to stamp out 3 images that I want for my card. You don't have to use the misting tool, but it is my new best friend in card making and I hardly ever stamp without it. I line up my images, ink them with the Memento Black Tuxedo ink, which is Copic friendly ink, and stamp them onto some Nina white cardstock. Once everything is stamped, I'm going to color them with my Copic markers. The entire video process is sped up a little bit to save some time, but I have everything listed on my blog, so I apologize if the number of the markers flies past your screen. I'm coloring from darkest to lightest, and then I will go back over my images again in the same order because I like to add a lot of depth to my images. Nina cardstock, it does seem to soak in color quite a bit more, but I've just really liked coloring with it lately versus the Express It cardstock that I was using. I like to experiment with different papers just to see if there's something that I find that I work better with. Now I have everything colored and I cut it out with my scan and cut machine. I like to line up where I want things to go and if it's looking like what I want it to. I use the Sugar Pea Designs treescape die to cut my hill and my tree. I never cut my die apart, so that's why my pieces are the way they are. I'm putting my images down and then figuring out where I want the sentiment to go. Like I said earlier, there are some super cute sentiments on here, and since my moose is roasting marshmallows, I'm going to go with the sentiment, campers have s'more fun. So once again, I'm pulling out my Misty tool to stamp my sentiment onto my cloud stencil background. I'm putting my paper flush with the edge of the Misty tool, so if my paper moves, I know right where I need to line it up if I have to restamp it again. Now I can start adhering everything down. I'm using my Scotch ATG runner for the main piece of the cardstock. To adhere the trees down, I'm going to use my new favorite adhesive, which is the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. I love the small tip on these and it has a great hold. I've had problems in the past with small tips clogging on me, but this one hardly ever does and it flows so nicely. And if you happen to have a little excess seep through or off to the sides, it dries clear so you can't even tell. Just for a finishing touch, I'm going to be adding some Ivory Shell Nouveau Crystal Drops. This will complete my card for today. I will have all the links provided down below and more detailed information on my blog. I hope this inspires you to create. Thank you so much for joining me and have a fabulous day.